not much sound, that's too bad. Well, we can skip it then. It's not worth it like that. Leave it. There's too much hum. Unless that hum can be removed, there's no point. So the hum is gone. Is the microphone still working? Is it helpful a little bit? Is this going?
Yes.
So we're ready to start, no? Yes. Okay, because I'm very enthusiastic about studying the hymns of Swami Vivekananda, and particularly the hymns that we sing every day. We sing them every day, but how well do we know the meaning of them? And often what also happens is we know the words so well that we sing them with our lips, but our minds go roaming somewhere else. I think it was Aldous Huxley who called this a reverential insensibility, where we are reverential, but actually our mind is sort of wandering in other places. It gets a little dull because we sing it every day. So tonight I want to talk about Om Hrīm Ritam, the Sanskrit hymn composed by Swami Vivekananda on Sri Ramakrishna, on his master. And of course, there are three hymns, important hymns, which he composed, two in Sanskrit and one in Bengali. We sing the first one, Khandana Bhavabandhana, as we wave the lights, typically. And this hymn could be said to be, it has been said as describing Sri Ramakrishna as the goal, describing the glory of Sri Ramakrishna. Who is he? He is the breaker of this world's chain. And so many beautiful descriptions of his qualities, his being, are given in that hymn. And Om Hrīm Ritam has been described then as the way, as the path to spiritual realization. And it's really a hymn of seeking refuge in the divine, seeking shelter in the divine, practicing that discipline of utter surrender, of papatti, that is the culmination of the practice of devotion. So this hymn was composed at Nilambar Babu's garden house, which is a property just south of where Belur Mutt, our headquarters, stands. And the Brotherhood moved there in 1898. The property of Belur Mutt had already been purchased, but it wasn't yet ready for habitation, so they were staying at this garden house just south. And it now belongs, of course, to the order. And Holy Mother, that property had also been rented for Holy Mother at some point earlier. So it's it's got a fantastic history. And so all the three hymns were composed around that time. Before that, they were singing while waving the lights, they were singing a Shiva hymn, Jaya Shiva Omkara, Bhaja Shiva Omkara. Something, I don't know the melody, may have been lost, but apparently it was sung also at Varanasi at Kashi Vishwanath during their arati. So they used to sing that. Then Swamiji composed this hymn, and this first hymn, of course, as you know, it starts out very solemn, and gradually it picks up, and by the end it's a very fast hymn, and ideally it's played with a loud drum, the pakawaj, and finally it closes again with breaker of this world's chain, Khandana Bhavabandhana, Jagabandhana, adored by all the world. Vandi Tomai, we adore you, we love you, we express our devotion to you. So that's where the hymn ends. And then this second hymn is sung. So the mood created by the first hymn is continued in the second hymn. It's a hymn of adoration. And it's, as you know, it's a very slow hymn, chanted in a very simple melody. There are just 4 notes in the melody.
Swamiji,
most of it is Sanskrit, right?
All of it is Sanskrit.
The Kai,
Om Ring Ritam
Tomar,
is,
those are all Bengali.
Om Ring Ritam is, this hymn we're talking about is fully Sanskrit. It's
No,
a
in
Sanskrit hymn. Akhandana Bhava Bandhana is a Bengali hymn, but Bengali has lots of Sanskrit words, so he used wherever possible Sanskrit words so that people who know Sanskrit can basically follow it. But we're going to do Khandana Bhava Bandhana on Saturday, and tonight we're going to look at Om Ring Ritam, and luckily we have a Sanskrit Pandit with us who is can help us if we need help. So this mood naturally is extended and for meditation, because after the hymns were sung, the tradition was and still is that we go for meditation. Only we've changed it here because I'm just visiting for a week, and after the hymns, typically there's some class or other, so then there's no chance for meditation. So we meditate before the arati and then have the arati. But traditionally, the meditation happens immediately after arati. All the monks and devotees go find a quiet corner somewhere and sit for meditation. So this really sets the mood for meditation. The third hymn which we sing, Sarva Mangal Mangale, was added only after Holy Mother left the body in 1921. In fact, the next day, that hymn was added to the hymns sung in the evening prayer.
But it was already prepared, right?
Oh, it's a portion of the hymn from the Chandi. It's an ancient hymn, 3 verses of which were selected for this. So that's a very, very ancient hymn. Who knows how many hundreds or thousands of years it goes back, but yes. So in both of these hymns, it is clear that Swami Vivekananda presents Sri Ramakrishna as an avatar, as an incarnation of the divine, a unique manifestation of the divine in human form, in accordance with the Gita, that whenever the need arises, I embody myself. However, and I think this is important, Swami Vivekananda never insisted on others, on people as accepting Sri Ramakrishna as such. He himself accepted Sri Ramakrishna, evidently, as an avatar, but so to his brother disciples, and Raja Maharaj in particular, he wrote, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa came for the good of the world. Call him a man, or God, or an incarnation, just as you please. Accept him each in your own light. He who will bow before him will be converted into purest gold that very moment. So he has tremendous faith in Sri Ramakrishna and his power of transformation, of spiritualizing our whole life. But he wouldn't insist that anyone accept that. He would say, Apnar Apnar Bhave now is the Bengali. Accept him each in your own light, according to your own understanding, your own attitude. Accept him. That's all. In another way, another place he writes. This is in the rules of the mutt, the rules of the monastery. He writes, whoever in any way adopts with a pure heart the path shown by Sri Ramakrishna may be selected as a member of this mutt, provided he is a man of renunciation. Whether he accepts the master as God, or as an avatara, or as an ordinary guru, is of no consequence. So I always like to remind us that he did not insist. We will accept Sri Ramakrishna as our understanding allows us to accept him. And also interestingly, in the Mutt rules, he points out that Sri Ramakrishna never left any instructions that he should be worshipped. That Swami Vivekananda points out, he left no instruction for installing his image and offering food, worship, etc. to him. We have introduced these things in his honor. And then he adds, to act according to the master's teachings is in itself the proper way to honor him. So he does mention that. So let's look at the hymn itself. It begins with a mantra. It begins with the fundamental mantra, the root word of Brahman, the pranava, Om. The word, the Shabda Brahman, that word, that sound which most captures, most encapsulates, or most expresses, shall we say, the truth of that infinite consciousness out of which this entire universe has arisen. So he begins the verse, the hymn with Om, and immediately follows it with Hrīm. What is Hrīm? Hrīm is the Shakti Bija. Hrīm is, in the Tantra philosophy, is the Bija mantra, that seed word which expresses Shakti, the Divine Mother. So this is very interesting that in this hymn, he begins with Om, the impersonal absolute, followed by Hrīm, the Shakti. Sri Ramakrishna himself in his teachings would say, Brahman and Shakti are abhed. They are not separate. They are not two. And so here Swami Vivekananda seems to be suggesting that Sri Ramakrishna is, on the one hand, a manifestation of Brahman. And yet, how does he manifest? How does Brahman take a body? Through Shakti, through Hrīm. And then he adds a third word, Ritam. We can best understand the term Ritam by reading a nice quote from Swami Mahayogananda, who's now one of our vice presidents, who wrote in the Prabodha Bharata when he was when he was the PB editor. He writes, according to the integral vision of Vedic sages, the whole cosmos is in a state of dynamic harmony called Ritam, instinct with life and pulsating through the phases of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Behind the apparent diversity and disharmony is the unity and harmony of Ritam, supporting and controlling every atom of the universe in an all-inclusive, all-pervading embrace. A wonderful description of this principle of harmony which holds this entire universe in its embrace. So behind the apparent disunity and disharmony, there is this unity, this harmony, which the ancient sages called Ritam. He goes on. God, souls, and the universe constitute an integral reality which functions as one vast living organism called Purusha, or the cosmic person, and appears structurally as absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. I'm not sure what he means by appears structurally as Satchidananda. The personal and the impersonal are only the functional and structural aspects of one and the same reality. Well, that's a pretty big paragraph, but I think this idea of Ritam, the term Ritam has fallen out of use, and elsewhere Bhajanananda Ji points out that gradually the term Dharma came to replace Ritam. But Ritam has this glorious idea of this universal harmony behind the apparent disharmony, the unity in diversity. So Om Hrīm Ritam, we can start to understand, start to intuit, which is it's a kind of mantra which represents the entire picture. Brahman, Shakti, and this principle of harmony, this moral order, the principle of dynamic harmony governing the universe. So that's a pretty big way to start this hymn, Om Hrīm Ritam. Then, Tvam Achalaha. You are, even though you have this universe, you are, as it were, a manifestation of Ring, of Shakti. You are unmoved, you are unchanged. You are that principle which does not change at all, Achalaha, the unmoving. So it becomes Achalo with the Sandhi. Om Ring Ritam, Tvam Achalo, suggesting that though Ring and Ritam have been just expressed as your epithets, as it were, as expressing you, still you, Tvam, are Achalaha. the unmoving, the infinite. And now there's a kind of almost a pun, a Sanskrit pun, or a kind of a rhyming phrase, which we find both in Khandana Bhavabandhana and in this hymn, Gunajit Gunedyaha. Guna, here, because the word guna means different things in the two halves of the phrase. The gunas, of course, are they're called what? They're called strands, actually, making up this universe, making up our whole experience, making up our minds. Everything can be said to consist of these three strands: sattva, rajas, and tamas. These are the gunas, and they bind us. Sri Ramakrishna has the wonderful story explaining the gunas of the what? Pop quiz. What's his good story about the gunas?
Thief.
Huh?
Thief.
The thief?
Thieves.
Thieves. The three robbers. The three robbers. Three robbers. Do you know the story?
Yes.
Everybody knows? No. Okay, we better tell the story. It's like, if we all know the story, or just the three robbers story. Oh yes, got it. All right, so a wealthy man was traveling through the forest back to his home from doing business in another town, and three robbers caught him, and they robbed him of all his wealth. And then the first robber said, "Now let's kill him," and pulled out his sword to cut off his head. The second robber intervened. He said, "Well, we don't really need to kill him. Let's just tie him up here, tie him up to this tree." So they left him tied up to the tree, and they left. After some time, the third robber comes back. He feels bad. They've roughed him up. They've stolen everything. So he comes. He unties him. He said, "Oh, you must be hurt. I'm sorry. Come with me. I'll show you the road. And if you follow this road, it'll take you home." And the businessman said, "Oh, thank you so much. You've saved my life. Please, you must come with me to my home." And then the robber says, "I cannot come with you. The police will catch me. So I can't come with you, but this is the way." So he says the gunas are like this. Tamas destroys. Tamas is that inertia, darkness, sleep. We need tamas. If we want to fall asleep at night, we need a little tamas to put us to sleep. Rajas binds us to this world with strong desires, with anger, with all these passions. And sattva frees us. Sattva is that principle of equilibrium, of peace, of light. But sattva also is a robber. It cannot take us all the way home to Brahman. It can only point to the way we have to transcend all. So gunajit means exactly this. You have transcended the gunas. You have conquered the gunas, literally, gunajit. And then guna, this is a compound, guna idyaha. Idyaha means id, from the root id, to praise. So you are praised, you are glorified. For guna also means a quality. So if someone has good qualities, you say, yes, in Bengali you say bhalo gun. You have good qualities, right? So here now the guna is taking the meaning of qualities. You have these you are glorified for your blessed qualities. In Khandana, how does it go? Nirguna gunamai, which means more or less the same thing. Nirguna, you are beyond the gunas, you have no qualities, and yet you are gunamai, you are full of blessed qualities, very good qualities. So it actually, the same phrase in slightly different formulation comes in both hymns. Then, the two verses of this hymn are an admission that this being the case, I should, since you are glorified for your blessed qualities, since you are actually a manifestation of the Absolute, what I should be doing is worshiping you, thinking of you all the time, and worshiping you constantly. But I'm not able to do that. I haven't done that. It's an admission of our failure to totally commit ourselves to our spiritual life. And let's look at the words word by word. Naktam divam, night and day. Naktam Divam Sakarunam. He's describing now the lotus feet. Sakarunam Tava Pada Padmam. The Pada, lotus, Pada is the feet, Padma is the lotus, Pada Padmam, Sakarunam, which are most compassionate, which are full of compassion. The lotus feet, I mentioned that the other day also, the idea of feet comes again and again in Sanskrit literature and hymns and stotras, and this is no exception. It could come twice in this hymn actually, that we seek refuge at the feet of the Lord. And when we meditate on the Lord, we are instructed, first we meditate on the feet. And they're called lotus feet because they're so blessed and so attractive. So there are a number of different words for feet, and there are probably even more different words for lotus. I don't know how many there are in Sanskrit. I once thought I'd count, and I got to 10 or something, and then I thought that it keeps going. Like Pankaja is a lotus, Padma is a lotus.
Kamala.
What else? What other ones we can think of? Kamala is a lotus. So many different words, and then there are different kinds of lotuses that have different special terms. So there's so many words. And then the Mother Kali, her feet are lotuses, and then our mind is likened to a bee, which is going to drink the nectar at the lotus feet of Mother Kali. There's so many associations with this lotus feet in the literature. So here, Naktam Vivam Sakarunam Tapapada Padpam, night and day, that's going to connect with the end of it. Night and day, I have not, in other words, night and day worshipped you. Those lotus feet which are full of compassion and which moham kasham, which destroy our delusion, our moha, our confusion, our taking this world to be so important and ultimately real, and that the whole point of life is to get lots of money. And have you ever seen that bumper sticker? He who dies with the most toys wins. That is a perfect expression of moha. Moham kasham, destroying our delusion, setting aside our delusion so that we realize that that we are divine immortal beings, and the whole purpose of our life is to express more and more love and to serve the divine and to attain union with the Lord. That's the purpose of our life. When our moha goes, we realize that. Naktam nivam sakarunam davapadabam moham kasham bahu kritam, with great earnestness. Bahu kritam literally means much done. You can say bahu many times, done, bahu kritam. Bahu kritam. Na bhaje, I have not worshipped. Na bhaje, I have not worshipped. Yataha, inasmuch as aham, I have not. So the sentence structure is backwards. It starts with yatoham, inasmuch as I, nabhaje, have not, naktam divam, nabhaje, have not worshipped you, naktam divam, night and day. And what have I not worshipped? You, or your blessed lotus feet, which are most compassionate and destroy our delusion forever. So that is this line. So inasmuch as this is the case, tasma, therefore, tvam, you, eva, alone, sharanam, are my refuge. Mama, my. Dina bandhu, O friend of the lowly. Bandhu is friend, and Dina is the lowly. Bandhu is the vocative case of the word bandhu, which means, because in Sanskrit the endings of the words change to denote the grammatical form of it. So in English you say, oh my dear friend, and in Sanskrit we say bandho. It means oh friend. So, O friend of the lowly, therefore thou art my only refuge, thou art my sharanam. So the dina, you are the friend of the poor, the lowly, the afflicted. I should just mention that there is one other interpretation of this first verse, which is a little different, made by Swami Harshananda. He's a real Sanskrit Pandit, and he says, well, actually, this is the common interpretation I've given, but it's not quite correct, and I don't know Sanskrit grammar well enough to understand his whole argument, but he says Bahukritam means actually many were committed. And so it's difficult to say that actually it means with great earnestness. So he says actually it means many evil deeds were committed by me. So he interprets it that way. That Bahukritam, in as much as I have not been able to worship you, and I have done many things which I shouldn't have done, which are unhelpful, therefore I take refuge in you. So that is Mahayoganandaji's interpretation. And it doesn't matter actually. Some of these hymns, they can have multiple interpretations. Look how many commentaries there are on Bhagavad Gita, and they have different. So as we study the hymns more, we gain more insight into different interpretations. It can deepen our appreciation even for the hymn.
Swamiji,
No.
did Swami Vivekananda give any translation of these hymns?
That wasn't. It's actually fairly simple, straightforward Sanskrit, because even I can understand it. So that means it's simple Sanskrit. So no translation was necessary. He did ask his disciple Sharat Chandra to correct any grammatical mistakes, and he did so. There was just a couple of places, and that's why now there are several different readings in a couple of lines. Like the third verse, Tejas Taranti Tarasa. But there's another version, Tejas Taranti Twaritam. And Twaritam is probably the way Swamiji composed it. Tarasa is the more correct grammar. But it is also felt that if a great rishi makes any flaws in the grammar, then it is accepted because it comes out of from the lips of a great knower of truth. So at Baylor Mutt, when I was at the training center, they decided to go back to Vivekananda, back to the way he composed the hymn, even though there might be some small grammatical inconsistencies. So that's the way we sang it when I was at Baylor Mutt. In Hollywood, we have a kind of hybrid. Parts of it are corrected, parts of it are not. So.
Please explain one more time.
Achala, chalo, let's go. Achala, unmoving. Tvam, you. Tvam is you. Achala. Chala, we say in Hindi and Bengali, say chalo. He needs to go, let's go. So achala means that which does not move, which does not change.
It's a negation.
Okay. So this is, of course, this hymn of seeking refuge, and something to be, which always fascinates me about this practice of refuge and surrender, this path of sharanagati, the path of prapatti, is that on the one hand, it's this idea of seeking refuge. We are actively seeking refuge. We take refuge. And on the other hand, there's this side of utter surrender, where we simply completely let go and turn everything over to the divine. So seeking refuge implies an active role. We earnestly seek refuge, where surrender implies that we give up all self-will, and even that of seeking shelter. And Sri Ramakrishna's story, which is his best story, showcasing the difference between these two attitudes.
The cat, the kitchen, and the monkey.
The kitchen and the monkey. Good. Sri Ramakrishna says the baby monkey clings to its mother with all its might as the monkey jumps from tree to tree. And I've seen this in the Himalayas, the langurs, those beautiful black-faced, gray-furred monkeys, which are, I guess, the Hanuman monkeys. They literally jump 7,500 feet in the air from the tall branches, from the branches of the very tall trees, one to the other. And the mothers, they're jumping with the little baby monkey, just grabbing onto mom's fur like they're for dear life, because if it falls, it's probably going to die. It's a pretty long drop. So they're holding on tight to the fur. And Sri Ramakrishna says this is one attitude in spiritual life. We cling to God with all our might. And generally, he seems to suggest that this is more of a beginner's attitude. and that matures into the attitude of the kitten. What does the kitten do? Nothing. All it does is meow. Meow, meow, meow. And the mom picks it up by the scruff of the neck, and sometimes it puts it in a dirty place, like the hearth, the pile of ashes in the hearth, and sometimes it puts it into a good place, the master's bed, the bed of the master of the house. And the kitten doesn't know anything. All it knows is to cry meow. So it has no will of its own. It is completely surrendered to the mother cat. So.
And how long does it take to come to that attitude? I
You
guess it's individual.
You tell me.
No, I mean,
We can practice both of them. We in our state, probably we practice both of them. We practice a little bit of both. On one hand, in our prayer, we earnestly seek to take refuge, and we remember the name, the holy name, and we repeat that. And then a mood comes where we say, all right, thy will be done. And something happens that we don't like, and we simply say, Lord, thy will be done. Mother, thy will be done. So it takes time. But I'm reminded of this Swami Mahayogananda, actually. He was very affectionate to me before I joined. He used to be like that. Once you joined, he won't talk to you, he won't give you the time of day. But before joining, he encouraged me very much. And he has said that, even in the monastery, monks get posted to different centers. And sometimes they're not happy about where they're assigned, okay? And some monks, they'll move heaven and earth to try to get their posting changed. They'll talk to this Swami, they'll talk to that Swami, and they'll call so and so and say, hey, what about that? How is that center? Is it okay? What do you think? And all these kind of things, trying to, but actually what they should do is they should just go and pray intensely. That's the right attitude to cultivate that surrender. Don't run about here and there. Don't try to talk to 20 people. Just take refuge. So when we get trouble, and we all get in trouble, no? In working life also, especially if you work for a company or some kind of organization, there will always be some gossip about you. There'll be some backbiting. There'll be some accusations against you. This is life. And I think we all know it all too well. So what do we do in those cases? Do we raise a hue and cry, fight back, stab someone back in the back ourselves? Or do we just pray? Do we just turn to God? Do we just surrender? Do we just take refuge in Mother and know that she will ultimately protect us? So this hymn, this first verse, and all the verses give us these. Why take refuge in God? Well, in the first verse, it's because spiritually we are not there yet. We don't have that power of constant remembrance of God, and we recognize that. I don't have the power to constantly worship you, to constantly remember you. So I take refuge in you. I surrender everything to you. Let's move on to the second verse. If we're going to finish the whole hymn in 1 hour, we better move on to the second verse. It starts with a beautiful affirmation that devotion and worship and these qualities, good qualities, are enough. They are enough to take us to realization. We can realize if we have devotion and worship and bhagaha. Bhaktir bhagascha bhajanam. Bhajanam is worship, bhakti is devotion, and bhagaha. What is bhagaha? Bhagavan, the Lord, is He who has these qualities. Bhagaha, these 6 qualities. There's even a verse about it. Let's see if I can read it. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasa shriyaha jnana vairagya yoshchaiva shannam bhaga itiranam. Okay, so these qualities are Aishwarya, sovereignty, lordship or supreme power, virya, valor or prowess, yashaha, fame or glory, shri, prosperity or beauty, jnana, knowledge, vairagya, detachment, These are the 6 qualities of Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is one who has all these qualities to the highest degree. So from the standpoint of spiritual seekers, some of these I can understand and some of them I can't. Savar Aishwarya, we can also understand as self-mastery, sovereignty. We are the lord of our own self. That yes, if we have that kind of self-mastery and with tremendous zeal for spiritual life, we need zeal if we want to practice. And we need, of course, jnana, wisdom, and we need vairagya, detachment. I'm not sure how the fame fits into this, how that would help us in our spiritual life, or the prosperity, the Shri, the prosperity. Though we could understand perhaps we need, as Ramakrishna used to say, religion is not for empty stomachs. We need a certain basic level of, our basic needs need to be fulfilled before we can turn to spiritual life. Basic needs for shelter and food and clothing, those kind of basic needs, physical needs need to be satisfied. Perhaps certain emotional needs need to be satisfied also.
Would you say spiritual prosperity?
Spiritual prosperity could be. So the idea is that these are enough. Bhaktir bhagascha bhajanam bhava bhedakari. Bhava, this world, it splits this world, as it were, destroys samsara, takes us beyond this world of duality to our goal, which is gachanti. They go alam. They are enough. The grammar of this sentence I'm not fully understanding, because it's gachanti alam suvipulam gamanaya tattvam. Tattvam is that supreme truth. That supreme truth of Brahman is the tattva. Gamanaya, it takes us to tattvam. And suvipulam, what is the tattvam? It is suvipulam, which means that supreme, right? The supreme truth. Suvipulam gacchantyalam. They are enough to take us. They are enough. Alam. They are enough to take us. So the hymn says, we say that if we had devotion and these spiritual qualities, it's enough. If we have that, that's enough. Then this very powerful line, Vaktro dhritopi hridime nachabhati kinchit. Vaktra, though I speak these words with my lips, they find no echo in my heart. Not in the least. Hridime, actually, here is another one of those where there are different versions. Hridaye is another version. Hridaye name bhati, but then the meter is thrown off. So they say hridime nachabhati. It does not shine even a little bit. Kinchit, not even a little bit. Do these words, which I just said, that devotion and all these qualities and worship are enough to take us to the supreme truth. Even though I'm saying this with my vaktra, my lips, in my heart, it's not even the least trace of it. That's our condition. Therefore, tasmat, tvameva, thou alone art my refuge, O friend of the lowly. Some people may not, like this. There's a little bit of an emphasis on our inability here, our weakness, as it were. And Swami Vivekananda, typically, he was a teacher of strength. He says from every verse of the Upanishad speaks strength. We have to be strong, we need strength. Affirm your strength. Realize the truth. But this is a devotional hymn composed for those who are are seeking the Lord through the form of Ramakrishna. And in devotion, it can be helpful for cultivating that mood of surrender, that mood of seeking refuge, to recognize that though, yes, we affirm our strength and we affirm that these are enough for us to realize, that actually, if we're perfectly honest with ourselves, we don't yet have that infinite strength. We don't yet have true devotion. We are not yet able to think of God all the time. We don't. But the divine is infinitely merciful. The wind of grace is always blowing. That infinite ocean of mercy is ready to accept us if we can take refuge there, if we can surrender everything at the Lord's feet. Therefore, tasmat tvameva sharanam mama dina bandho. So that's the second verse. Third verse. Tejas taranti tarasa tvayi tripta trishnaha. Rage krite rita pate tvayi ramakrishne. It sort of all goes together. I think the root of this verse is rage krite or ragam krite in the Swamiji's formulation. This path of devotion, raga is this strong attachment. And here, of course, this strong attachment for you, Sri Ramakrishna. Rage krite, what happens? When we have that strong attachment for you, that deep love for you, then taranti, those who have this strong attachment for you, taranti, they cross tejas, they cross this this rajas of this world. This rajas, tejas is here understood to mean this rajas, this rajasic world. They cross over, taranti. And how do they cross over? Tvaritam or tarasa, quickly. They quickly cross over this rajasic world, and tvayi, in you, find all desires fulfilled. Tripta trishna. Trishna is that thirst or that desire, which characterizes human life and embodiment. We are filled with desires. We have desires, both positive desires for enjoyments, for pleasurable experiences, and negative desires, which also can be called dvesha, for avoiding painful experiences. So we want this tendency to feel that if only I can get this, if only I can get that, then I'll be happy. This to me is the essence of Krishna. We're always a little bit unsatisfied, and this was Buddha's great insight, that this is the very nature of this world, to be this feeling of this gnawing dissatisfaction, and though we try so hard to satisfy it through various things and experiences, we can't. It's still there, this gnawing dissatisfaction. And the only way to fulfill all desires is in realization, in spiritual realization, where all desire, it says, purna kamaha. All kamaha, all desire, is purnaha, fulfilled. And what does it mean actually? The desires are stilled, because we have found that infinite reality, which all along we were desiring, which not knowing, which still we are intuiting that infinity behind all, and we somehow know that we need more, we want more, and when we touch that, all desires become stilled. So that's why in you, tvayi tripta trishna, all desire, trishna is tripta, is satisfied. How beautiful! It's very poetic also. You can, each line has this sort of onomatopoeic quality to it, like bhaktir bhagascha bhajanam bhava bheda kari, all are bha words. Here we have all ta words. Tejas taranti tarasa toyi tripta trishna, all ta words. And rage krite, rage, that path of intense love for God, rita pate, which is the path to ritam, as it were, the true path, the path to harmony, to perfection. You yourself are the path. Ritapate, Tvai Ramakrishna, in you, in Ramakrishna. We through that path, they who love you intensely and walk on the path which is you yourself, all their desires are fulfilled, and they quickly cross over this world. Then the third line, Maratyam Ritam, Davapadam, again the feet. Maranor Minasham. This is a beautiful image of Marana, Urmi. Marana is death, and Urmi is a wave. So this world is actually like waves of death coming, because everything dies, everything is destroyed here, nothing lasts. So like wave after wave of death comes over this world and over our own lives, until finally we also, our lives also go. Maranormi, the waves of death, Nasham. You destroy the waves of death, or more poetically in English, you still the waves of death. And what stills the waves of death? Davapadam. Which, what do? In this world of death, Martya, they bring Amritam, immortality. Martyamritam, Davapadam, Maranor Nasham. Your feet, how can we translate it? Your feet still the waves of death and bring that nectar of immortality into this world of death, into this mortal world. We should have, what's the translation that we have in this sheet? Can someone pick it up here? Let's see. O Ramakrishna, you are the path that leads to truth. If one offers you his, I don't like this translation. But true. For your feet still the ways of death and bring immortality into the world of mortals. I don't quite like this translation. Anyhow, good. We can refer to it from time to time.
Swamiji, what you said earlier, the Trishna, the desires are totally fulfilled when we feel intense love for you. I get all that. If you can tell us, how can we practically exhibit this in everyday life?
See, it's a practice. We start to recognize, yes, we still have some desires that we have some things we need to do, say taking care of family and
Right.
and all that, and but we connect it all to God. We connect it all. Sri Ramakrishna says, turn all those things to God. The more we long for God, the more all those other desires, they get subsumed into that, and then they become not so important. So yes, we have to carry on our work, our duties. But if I think that when I achieve this particular aim and end in my life, then I'll be happy, we have to recognize that that's a false belief. I will not be happy. That will not make me happy. It may make me happy for a few days, maybe a few weeks. In the case of marriage, it may take a couple of years. There was a study done of how long the honeymoon lasts, and they had an average time of increased happiness. In people who get married, it was something like 2 years. The scale is increased happiness over the baseline, and then it comes back. So it depends, depending on what desire has been fulfilled, how long it lasts. New car, it lasts a few weeks, probably, maybe a couple months. We recognize that there only in you will all my desires finally be still. In you all desires are still, and when we recognize that, acknowledge that okay, so this thing didn't happen. All right, but that doesn't matter. I'm still okay. I know that my fulfillment is in God and only there.
So I was thinking, if we have 100%, like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa was saying, then the percentage of attachment towards God, as that increases, the percentage for the world decreases.
Yeah.
leaving the whole total to be 100%. Would that be correct?
Go forward. Go forward. I'm just say go forward. Let's look at the last verse before we run out of time. Because I want to touch all 4 verses here.
Okay.
I have a beautiful quote I just want to share with you from Swamiji about the feet. Because these feet here again twice in this hymn he mentioned the feet, and in the Khandana also they are mentioned. So in the 8th verse, that Sampadata Shripada Bhogoshpa, that verse also has the beautiful feet of the Lord. So he was in conversation with one of his disciples, Surendranath Dasgupta, and the disciple was praising Swamiji, how great you are. And Swamiji, of course, though he was great, but he was also an embodiment of humility. So he said, no, see, I have met many great souls, and whatever I share is only what I have learned from them. Do not think that I myself am something great. And then the disciple says, but we look upon you, Swamiji, as one who has realized God. And how he puts it in Bengali, Amra monekori, apni Bhagavan ke pechen. Bhagavan ke pechen, you have attained Bhagavan, you have attained the Lord. And then Surendra notices, he says, no sooner did I say these words than those fascinating eyes of his were filled with tears. Oh, he remarks, oh, how vividly I see that scene before my eyes even now. And he, with a heart overflowing with love, softly and gently spoke. At those blessed feet is the perfection of knowledge sought by the jnanis. At those blessed feet also is the fulfillment of love sought by the lovers. Oh, say, where else will men and women go for refuge but to those blessed feet? A beautiful. Swamiji used to say he's jnana on the outside, but inside he's all devotion. And that one word, hearing the word Bhagavan from his disciple, his eyes filled with tears. Thinking of the master, I presume, at those blessed feet. And after a short time he said again, alas, what folly for men in this world to spend their days fighting and quarreling with one another as they do. But how long can they go on in that way? In the evening of life, they must all come home to the arms of the mother. Actually, the translation says evening of life. It just says evening. The line is Shandhai Mayer Kole Astei Hove. They all have to come to the arms of the mother in the evening. So that's something about the feet. If you had heard the word Bhagavan and you thought of the Lord's feet. Okay, last verse. Again, another rhyming, or you can say this very attractive first line. Krityam karoti kalusham kuhakantakari. This is a ka line. Krityam karoti kalusham kuhakantakari. And it goes together with the second line. Shnantam shivam suvimalam tavanamanata. Here, in this verse, Swami Vivekananda is preaching the name of the Lord. He is preaching the name of Ramakrishna as a saving power. Fascinating. He says, Tavanama, O Lord, Natha, Tavanama, your name is Suvimalam, absolutely pure, and Shivam, good, utterly auspicious and good, and that which is Kalusham, which is like the wicked deeds that we have done, the bad karma that we have done, it karoti, it makes it krityam, good, a good action. It turns our wicked deeds into good deeds. In other words, it sets at naught our bad karma. And kuhakantakari, it puts an end, it puts an antakari. It's antakari, it puts an end to the kuhaka. What is kuhaka? The wily one, which cheats us. Maya, in other words. So it puts in your name which is Shnantam, which ends in the syllable Shna, is Shivam, is utterly auspicious, and Suvimalam, utterly pure, and turns wicked deeds into good. So, as Holy Mother used to say, though we have to experience the results of our karma, but the practice of japa greatly lessens the effect. So she would say, suppose your karma would require you to get the wound of the width of a plowshare in your leg, a huge wound. If you do a lot of japa, you can't completely avoid that fruit of that karma, but you will have to suffer a pinprick or so. So it's tremendously powerful, the name of God. So this is interesting that Swami Vivekananda here is presenting the name of Ramakrishna as a saving power. Krityam karoti kalusham kuhakantakari shnantam shivam suvyamalam tavanamanata. And then this last line, yasmat, inasmuch. See, yasmat tasmat. Yasmat, inasmuch as, since I, tasmat, therefore. Yasmat aham, asharanaha, since I am without shelter. In this world, we think we have shelter. We have a shelter in our work, maybe. We have our home, which is our castle. And we find all kinds of ways of creating safety here in this world. But if we really analyze it, we can understand that all these things are temporary. There is no lasting shelter in this world. The only shelter, yasmat aham asharano, inasmuch as I have I recognize that actually I am without shelter here. I have no refuge here in this world. And O goal of all the worlds, Jagat Eka Gamya, thou the soul, Eka is one, Gamya, goal, Jagat, world. You, and evocative case ending. So, O thou who art the goal, the one goal of all beings, as it were. As the scripture says, from Brahman we have come, and to Brahman we shall return. So, inasmuch as I have no refuge in this world, therefore, thou alone art my refuge, O friend of the lowly and the lost. So, this is a beautiful, beautiful hymn of seeking refuge. Now, I should mention, and probably many of you know this, but some may not know it, in this hymn, a mantra is hidden. And the clue is, why this funny line, Shnantam? Why should Swamiji specifically mention that Sri Ramakrishna's name ends in Shna? Well, because this mantra is hidden in the hymn. And we take the first syllable of the first three lines of every verse and see what we get. Om Hrīm Ritam starts with Om. Nattam Divam, Na. Moham Gasham, Namo. So we have Om, Namo. And skip the fourth line of each verse. Next verse, Bhakti Bhagash, Bha. Gachanti, Ga. Vaktro Dritopi, Va. Bhagava. Third verse, Tejas Taranti, Te. Also we have Om Namo Bhagavate. Then we have Rage Krite, Ra. Martyamritam, Ma. Then fourth verse, Krityam, Kri. And Shna, Shna, Shna. Then Yasmadya. So we have Ramakrishnaya. So that's why Shna is there, because it's the mantra that's hidden in this hymn is Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya.
Wow. We didn't know that.
So that is tremendous. That's the genius of Swamiji. There's a tradition of this kind of hymn, of a mantra being embedded in a hymn like this. And there was a term here.
So Maharaj,
It's called a Dvada Shakshari. The 12th syllable mantra is hidden in here. And again, emphasizing the name. So the fourth verse introduces the name of Ramakrishna, and the name of Ramakrishna is indeed embedded in the hymn in this way also. So evidently Swami Vivekananda felt that the repetition of the name of Ramakrishna was something to do, something worthwhile.
I have a question. So Ramakrishnaya will be Visharga? Ramakrishnaya. So Visharga? Last is Visharga.
No.
Bhagavate Ramakrishna.
Ramakrishnaya. That's the fourth case ending, dative. In Sanskrit grammar, with namaha, which is apparently is a word meaning worship or salutation or not me, but the that same word we use when we say namaste or namaskar. That namaha, the object of our salutation takes the fourth case ending. So that's why it's Ramakrishnaya.
So how do you spell that Ramakrishnaya?
Ramakrishnaya.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Not
In English you'd say R-A-M-A, Rama, Krishna, K-R-I-S-H-N-A-Y-A. It's a long A, Arya, Ramakrishnaya. That's why all the hymns of salutation have this fourth case. When we do puja, yesterday we had puja, and every deity gets this fourth case ending. So we Ete Gandha Pushpe, with this flower with sandal paste, Sarvadeva Devi Svarupaya, Sri Ramakrishnaya Namaha. For Holy Mother, Sarvadeva Devi Svarupinyai. That's fourth case ending for Svarupini. It's an ending in E, not in A. Sarala Devyai Namaha. We can say Guruhu becomes Ete Gandha Pushpe Shri Gurave Namaha. Fourth case ending of Guru is Gurave. Fourth case ending of Vishnu is Vishnave. So like that, in every time in puja we use with Namaha, it takes fourth case. So like that, there's the famous mantra of Krishna, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Yeah.
Bhagavate is also fourth case ending. Bhagavan, it's Bhagavan, but Bhagavate is the fourth case. So like that, fourth case ending. So that brings us to the end of our hour. So we'll have to save the pranam mantra for some other time. Swami Vivekananda actually composed the pranam mantra, Om Sthavakaya Dharmasya, before he composed Om Hrīm. The pranam mantra was composed on the 6th February 1898 at a devotee's home. He went for puja and composed that whereas Om Hrīm was composed in November of 1898. So I hope that this, and then of course, so the hymn closes with this pranam mantra, Om Sthapakaya Dharmasya Sarva Dharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namah. So these are all the words in this verse are in the fourth case ending because it ends in Namaha. The whole verse is a salutation to Sri Ramakrishna, and the Sthapakaya, to the one who establishes dharma, the establisher of dharma, dharmasya of dharma, Sthapakaya, to the one who has established dharma, and who is the very embodiment, sarva dharma, of all dharmas, swarupine, the very embodiment of sarva, all dharmas, avatara, embodiment of divinity in human form, avatar, varishtaya, the best, or the greatest avatara. This is the part that we don't have time to get into. How could Swamiji say that? All forms of God are the same. So anyhow, we can discuss that some other time. Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. To you I bow down, I take refuge, I salute. And then the hymn closes, of course, with Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya Namo Namaha. Now, why it says this instead of the mantra which is hidden in Om Hrīm, I don't know. Why doesn't it just close with Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya? It ends in Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya Namo Namaha. I don't know why that is. Maybe it was added later. But it's a joy for me to go through this hymn word by word, and I hope it helps. It certainly helps me, and I hope it also helps some of you when singing the hymn to recall to mind the meanings, very profound meanings of the words, and how it really is a real spiritual practice to take refuge in the divine, to surrender everything to the divine. To, on the one hand, we remind ourselves of the glory of the divine, the glory of the great spiritual teacher, and then at the same time we recognize our inability to fully practice spiritual life as we feel it ought to be practiced. Therefore, we take shelter, we take shelter, we take shelter, we surrender, we surrender, we surrender.
Swamiji, do you think the Shri stands for Ganesh?
No,
Many of them.
I don't. I think it's an honorific. No, Sriram, we use it as an honorific. The holy, the blessed one. Let's take a moment, just a moment of silence. Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat, Shri Ramakrishna Paramastu. Actually, we sing it slowly, but it's actually a very short hymn. It's just 4 short verses. It's easy to memorize, and we can remember it also. And I had a funny thought. When the Christians have a moment of silence, it's generally about 10 seconds or 8 seconds. We can have a little bit longer moment of silence because we're used to meditating.